appreciates a little bit of a delay.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay. Call the meeting of the City of Millwood Planning Commission to order. Take a roll call first. Commissioner Rickard, Commissioner Beasy,
Here.
Commissioner Malter,
Here.
Commissioner Wu,
Here.
Chairman Ankney is here. Make note that that Commissioner Rickard is absent, but we still have a quorum. First order of business is approval of our meeting agenda. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to look it over. And if so, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Agenda approved. Next order of business is the approval of minutes for the first one is the corrected minutes for the January 31st, 2024 meeting. Is that correct? Or am I out of order? I am out of order. Okay, the way that it is right now, we are looking at the meeting minutes from our June meeting, June 26th. I did look them over. I didn't see anything out of order. Did anybody else?
Well, I think once they were updated, they look pretty good.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes dated June 26th.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the
Okay,
26.
do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Next would be the meeting minutes from the special meeting that we had on July 9th at the city council meeting. It was more of a workshop type meeting, but I looked those over, thought everything was in order. Does anybody have any changes or any issues with them?
I just have a question, more of a clarification, Mike. Paragraph 2A, it said responsible for amendments to the GMA. That's Growth Management Act, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then the one below that, it said SEPA and BAS. I don't know, what is the BAS?
Amanda, Bureau,
Best available science.
Best Available Science. Okay.
All right, thank you. I
There you
didn't
go.
know that one.
Appreciate that clarification. And then, well, since we're on that, there was one that my brain's not working on. I can't remember which one it was, but, okay. Okay, aside from that, anybody else have any? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve, the minutes from the July 9th meeting.
I will make that
Okay.
motion.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Then that brings us to the corrected minutes of our January 31st, 2024 meeting. I looked those over again. It looked like the questions that we had and the edits were implemented into them. Does anybody have anything on those? Okay. Hearing none, does I have a motion to approve?
I do have a question,
Okay.
Mike. On page 2, the planning report, Amanda reported on the rebuild. And I guess I'm just not clear on that was how that was clarified.
Okay. On which paragraph?
Paragraph 7, planning report.
Okay.
And then also A and then B, 2024-2025 preliminary amendment docket. And maybe, I just thought maybe Amanda could clarify that or expand on that for me, more clarification for me.
Okay, from the January?
Please, yes.
So, the rebuild options were, I went over the zoning with the, I believe it was the current property owner and what he could rebuild, whether it be single family or a duplex, and what the coverage requirements, et cetera, were. On B, for the preliminary amendment docket, I just went over all the list of things at that time, that back in January, that I had, that Christina and myself had developed, that I plan to include as part of the periodic update to the development regulations.
9813 and 9815 East Alton, that's the property that had the fire, correct? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the January 31st, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion to approve them.
Okay. Second?
I'll second that.
Perfect. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Yeah, the ayes have it. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so before we get to action items and have those reports brought to us, I see we have a pretty good audience in the crowd, and I'm addressing you right now. So right after this next agenda item is our public comment section. So anybody who plans on or would like to make public comments, there should be a sign-in sheet right there by the door. Please sign in, and that'll be a matter of record so that we can go ahead and have your public comments. So back to item 4.
So the first item is a periodic update work plan. I've prepared a itemized list of tasks and the deadlines that need to be completed over the next 2 years. Goes over all the planning commission meetings, the city council meetings, what will be reviewed at those, when the deliverables are due, and the major components of the work plan, essentially. This will be reviewed by planning commission, and then I'll be presenting it to city council at the August meeting for adoption via resolution.
And I assume, Amanda, that there were no changes to this schedule that we reviewed a month ago?
No, it matches the preliminary schedule. I just cleaned it up so it was more readable.
Thank you.
I might have clarified a couple dates or deliverables or something, but it is significantly matching it. And the only thing I'll draw your attention to for planning commission is where it happened the most. I believe there were 2 or 3 meetings that conflicted with the holidays in November and December. We were able to skip a couple because we're gonna do a joint meeting in December, and another one I was able to move because it had enough separation between the council meeting. So if you see anything italicized there, that's why.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to meet on Christmas?
Oh, I figured you didn't
I
either.
mean, I like you guys, but
So, I have a question just in reviewing that. So it says tonight, we need to review and make a recommendation on the work plan. So that's what this is, right?
This is, and then the public participation plan's next.
Okay, perfect, okay.
I'd also like to comment or compliment Lisa on having single page based on, thanks, Mike
yeah.
and Lisa.
It does, for me, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
thank you. Okay, does anybody, since we're supposed to make a recommendation tonight, does anybody have any questions for Amanda?
I've got several.
Okay, Commissioner Beasy.
One under, right after update timeline. Coordinated water system plan for Spokane County. What is the coordinated water system plan? I know
That
about
is
the
an
sewer
update
and-
to the Spokane County Water System Plan that Millwood participates in. And a portion of the grant funding will go to help updating that plan to ensure concurrency for water for the city as well as the other jurisdictions within the county that participate.
Okay, what does that mean?
We have to make sure water's gonna be there and available for the growth and development.
Okay, isn't that kind of a state thing? Water rights and,
Well, you have to make sure that your systems are in place and planned for. So if there's any, I actually have not reviewed the county plan, but just in general for a water concurrency plan, you have to make sure that your systems are in place, if any upgrades are needed to accommodate the projected growth, those kinds of things. And the county stated that the project or the plan needed update, and so it's being done at the beginning stages of the periodic update.
I don't think I've ever bumped into that one before.
Yeah.
that we coordinate with the county and that there's an overall plan for water.
Yeah.
And then my other concern was that this is a very aggressive schedule, got a whole lot to get done, not much wiggle room, and I am concerned about missing those meetings and about some of the other things that we were hoping to get done. I mean, this is kind of assuming that nothing else comes up for the next 2 years. That there's no hearings or, you know,
Well, and if there is hearings, we'll have to run them with the periodic update. It's a mandatory schedule, so I just had to
So-
program it all in.
so I think, I guess my point is that we should not, at this point, rule out special meetings or
Oh, correct,
occasionally
yeah.
meeting twice in a month.
Yeah.
Because we're also talking some huge changes here that will affect Millwood forever, change its character, all kinds of things. And to rush it through on a schedule without giving proper amount of time to think about it and, you know, I think it'd be a big mistake. So if we need to do some extra meetings, I think we need to do some extra meetings.
And I actually put at the top of page 2 that we can complete administrative updates to the work plan in order to expedite the periodic review process. So
What does
I
that
left
mean?
flexibility in there.
What does that mean?
Basically, if we need to schedule an additional meeting, adopting this via resolution doesn't preclude that.
Okay, good.
Anything else? I mean, I have to concur with her, it's a pretty aggressive schedule, especially after the special meeting we had with the city council, which I have some thoughts I want to share with that when it comes to that time, but.
I guess my other concern is that we have missed so many meetings. And there are some important things that we've already run into consequences for, like not having driveway width defined. I know you have mentioned that there are some issues with the sign ordinance. And we've been trying for about 4 years to update the sign ordinance. And now it looks like we aren't gonna get to it for another 2 years. This kind of feels like maybe we're hanging out there. And, you know, are we really talking like a couple years before we get to fixing these?
Yeah.
Is that,
Because I have to make sure everything
Defensible?
remains consistent and with each other. And so we're starting at the basis of the comprehensive plan, updating that, and then tackling the development regulations. And I want to look at them as a whole. But we do have to separate them into 2 parts, what's due in June of '26, what's due by December of '26. And included in the what's due by December of '26, I want to include all the housekeeping items. The correcting the driveway widths, the making sure we have all the things that were on the list of items that were deficient that we needed to correct, the signage standards and that would all be in the second part of the development regulations. And unfortunately, there is no way to tackle those sooner, because as you said, if a hearing comes up for a special sign permit or anything like that, we have to be able to program it in addition to keeping the schedule.
so we kind of got ourselves in a situation where we could have been working on some of these.
I actually couldn't have presented anything to you sooner either because of the flux of the development regulation requirements. Signage we could have brought forward first, but I didn't have it in my bandwidth to give it to you, so. Yeah, and my familiarity with the code. I wanted to make sure before we started tackling major amendments that I was very familiar with the code and how everything functioned so that we can do corrections right the first time.
So if we get someone else who's got a proposal and wants to put in a 6-foot driveway, there's nothing we can do about it.
Not at this time, no.
For 2 years.
Yeah, unless the council wants to do a special amendment, but the periodic update is gonna be very involved, so.
Not a good situation.
No.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I just have a question on page 2.
Commissioner Walter.
September, which is only a month away, it says the Millwood Community Survey begins.
Yes.
And what is involved in that, Amanda? What's involved and what's the process?
So I will be doing it through Google Forms. Your August meeting, you'll be presented with the draft of the questions, and then it'll go on to council from there. It'll be pretty heavy on the Parks and Recreation side, since we include a brand new element for Parks and Recreation. And then it'll be updating the community vision, et cetera. I don't have the questions drafted at this point, but I have notes as far as what needs to be included, and then we can make any modifications as we go through the review process with Planning Commission and Council. Once it's inputted into Google Forms, people have the link, the QR code, we'll have it advertised. And if anybody chooses to fill it out hard copy, then they can do that as well, turn it into City Hall. And staff or myself will enter that into Google Forms so that we'll have full reports generated.
Okay, we went through a fairly extensive planning process, a review process for the park 2 years ago. And so everything that's been done there will be updated, as I understand it?
Yeah, so that was the master planning process for the park. The problem is there wasn't a Parks and Recreation plan in place, and so you can't get grant funding without the plan in place. And so the new Parks and Recreation element will serve the purpose of an RCO compliant parks plan that can incorporate the master plan work, and then you can go forth and make application on the next available round of funds to fund the park improvements, if the council so chooses.
Okay.
I think one of the problems with what we worked on, we never finished it.
Right.
And we were kind of deficient in getting public input. We got a lot of public input from people who attended the farmer's market on Wednesday afternoons. And very little from anybody else was documented at all. So it will be good to get a broader range, give a broader range of people a chance to say something.
That's a good point. I remember we talked about that, Bobby, and we didn't get beyond that, did we?
I mean, it was like they were saying, oh, well, the wading pool isn't a very high priority. But the only input we got was from people who were in the park on the one day the wading pool was closed. So this is kind of a problem for a balanced input, I think. My other question is, are we going to have hard copies available that people can pick up at City Hall, or
Yes.
that we can distribute and get out there?
And so if somebody fills them out, like I said, if somebody fills out a hard copy, they can be emailed to them, they can pick up a hard copy, whatever somebody needs. And then staff or myself would enter those into Google Forms so that we have everything in one place.
The Millwood Community Survey sounds like quite a process. Should we get a head start on that in August instead of waiting until September?
It
seems
needs to
like-
go through the review process, so you are getting a head start in August, we're just not starting it. Because we need the questions reviewed and approved.
Okay. Oh, boy.
No, we did do this once, 70s, 80s,
It's been a while.
but they did send to every single household hard copies of forms to fill out.
And I've also talked with Lisa and Deb and the October water bill. Is that what we were talking?
Budget survey?
September, I think, was the budget survey.
Yes.
I think it was the October water bill, October 7th,
yes.
I recall. We'll have a flyer in there about the survey and access to the link and everything.
QR code.
Yeah, QR code, yeah.
Anything else?
It's a good idea.
Okay. So Amanda, I'm just gonna put you on the spot. Okay, my question is, if there's no hiccups, is this doable?
If we can stay on track and approve as, to get everything done and needed, yes, I will make it happen. If we get a hiccup or we're not reaching quorum, and for some reason we can't immediately turn around and schedule a special meeting, it's gonna be problematic. The biggest issue is just making sure we get through everything that we need to at each meeting.
And we're not the only municipality that has this aggressive schedule, right? Okay, perfect, cool. And then, just out of curiosity, I was gonna ask this at the this seems like an opportune time to ask this question. How much time do you spend on this?
On this portion,
Yeah, I'm just, how much time a month do you think you personally are gonna be putting into this? I'm just kind of getting a rough idea.
this month it was about 60 hours, I think.
60 hours?
Was that just this, or does that include requests from the public of can we?
That
do
was
this?
just the periodic update, I believe.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and check because I have to, my work on the deliverables and then my work on the LCA, I do separate from the day-to-day. And it was a very big chunk this month. And I expect it to be that way for the next couple of years.
Do you have staff?
No,
You don't have anybody to help?
I am me.
So, okay, perfect, great. So I guess what we need to do, if there are no other questions, we're just voting on to recommend that this draft goes to city council, has the plan to make things happen.
Yep.
Okay,
Um,
I'll entertain a motion that says that we're gonna kick this upstairs.
Oh, and one clarification to your question, Commissioner Agney, about the aggressive schedule. Other jurisdictions, and I'll use Cheney for example, they are not doing their housekeeping items for their development regulations as part of the update. But I wanna make sure we maintain everything as being consistent and improve upon the processes. So I plan to include it as part of ours.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I got another question. Understanding the hard deliverable dates, is there a little bit of flexibility if we have a hearing and we can't finish it that date? I mean, are we stuck
We
because
would need to
it's in,
schedule a special meeting.
are we stuck because it's in black and white on here?
No, we can administratively modify it, but these are like the points in time that we have to meet. And so if we have a meeting in March of 2025 for the comprehensive plan or whatever, and you need to schedule a special meeting so that we can meet the deadline in April, for example, then that's what we would need to do.
Or if a miracle occurred and we got something done a
Yeah.
month early or something?
Wishful thinking.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion to. Just a second. I'll entertain a motion that we send the work plan and the public, just the work plan, we're doing, these are two separate items, right? Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the work plan and have it sent to or that we recommend approval of the work plan by the city council. Is that the motion that we're looking at? Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion is approved. Okay, now we're to the public participation plan review.
And they really do go hand in hand because the work plan is your timeline for what you're gonna do. The periodic update public participation plan is how we're going to keep the public involved. And so basically, the public participation plan consulted what is in the current comprehensive plan for public participation, which is very small, and then expanded upon that for some of the best practices that are utilized in today's planning world. And so I've established some goals for what we want to achieve for the periodic update public participation. Outlined the involvement opportunities, everything from the survey to the meetings, workshop, and hearings, city council meetings and hearings, and then where written comments can be submitted to. I've outlined all the public outreach methods and the tools, and I had the opportunity to speak with some of the citizens after the last July special meeting to see what would be the best communication methods for them, and received an email address as well as learned about the newsletters and the water bills, those kinds of things. So those have been added here to make sure we reach the citizens as broadly as possible. Staff is currently working on getting all the passwords and everything working for the social media accounts. accounts, so that those can be generated as part of the process and keep those updated. We're working on a page for the webpage, the city website, to have a periodic update page, or at a minimum include it within the public notices, but I believe we're gonna have a page, is that correct?
We talked
Okay.
about that.
And then, I developed the Imagine Millwood activity that's gonna be conducted at Millwood Days. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. The survey, of course, I went over all the different opportunities for booths at the different community events. Not saying we'll cover every one of them, but it's the opportunities we can. The stakeholder interviews, and then, just going over the opportunity for receiving public comments as standard. I also outlined the roles and responsibilities, for city council, for planning commission, for myself, and, then for the community members. And quoted the benefits of community participation that was put together by the Washington State Department of Commerce. And that's the outline of the public participation plan.
I've got a couple of questions or just thoughts. So after our special meeting and, taking into the ADUs and the middle housing and the you know, the 49 units that the city moved. So I'm very good friends with the CFO and the COO of Habitat for Humanity. Okay, and obviously that's what they deal with. Okay, and they also are dealing with the same regulations in the city of Spokane. And I would like to, as we dive into this, and if you would think it would be appropriate, I would like to have, at one of our meetings, have, his name's Eric Lyons, have him come in and present the different options that Habitat offers, because one of my main concerns is that if we bring in some low-income or middle-income housing, and they have homeowners, people buy those homes, what he was saying, what you have to watch out for, is let's say said person buys the home, and I'm just using this numbers as an example, buys said house for $150,000, okay? And then they turn around in 5 years and they sell the house for $300,000. Then it's not considered low-income housing anymore, and so you lose that number. So what Habitat has done is now in the city of Spokane, when they sell the home, they sell the structure. They do not sell the foundation. So that keeps it forever in perpetuity low income. So you gain those tax credits and whatever credits are involved in that. So if you think that would be appropriate for him to come and do a presentation, Amanda, I would definitely schedule that at whatever appropriate meeting that would be at.
And what's his name?
Eric Lyons,
Rick Lyons, L-Y.
Lyons. And he is I think his official title is COO Habitat for Humanity Spokane.
Okay.
And I've done many projects with
So you can own the structure,
you know, the structure. That's what they're doing in the city
but
because
not the land.
correct.
Essentially a land lease situation.
That's exactly the term.
Is that what they're doing in Deer Park?
I'm
No.
wondering, because
Yeah.
they have
No.
quite a,
Not yet,
No,
okay.
no,
No, they're not.
no, not at Hope Meadows. I've done millions of dollars working there. It's a new thing in Spokane because it's for this, what this regulation is saying.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I think that'd be great. I'll look at where it'll program in and then we'll make sure to get him scheduled up for a presentation.
Great, thank you. Other than that, anybody else have any questions?
Well, along those same lines, Mike, I had highlighted this HAPT, Housing for All Planning Tool, which provides allocations for each jurisdiction, which we will be part of that. Consistent with RCW 36.70, to assist with planning for and accommodating housing affordability to all economic segments of the population, including units for moderate, low, very low, and extremely low income households, as well as emergency housing, emergency shelters, and permanent supportive housing. So I think that would tie right into that.
Right.
So I think that's great. I was wondering how in the world we were going to address all of those bullet points
Right.
under this HAPT program.
He's my go-to because that's, you know, affordable housing for all is obviously a huge deal.
Sure,
And
yes.
like I said, I've worked with him for years. So.
Okay.
Anybody else have any, Commissioner Beasley? No?
On a different direction. So we have had several comprehensive plans and updates to comprehensive plans, and we have had past public participation. Do we keep that, or is that just thrown out as if it had never happened and we have just new public input put in?
So,
Does the history stay there of historically Millwood residents have?
yes, in short, yes.
Yes, it's thrown out, or yes, it stays?
No, yes, it stays. So, what I have to do starting here in the next couple months, I have to complete the checklists for updating the comp plan, the development regulations, and the critical areas ordinance. So using the comp plan as an example, I go through the comp plan and all this checklist identifies things. Does your comp plan already have this or does it not? If it does not, it needs to be included. So I say it's deficient in that. Everything that's the basis for the original development of the plan, all those things stay in there, and then we just add to it. So, in the whole, we review the vision and the goals and all those things to see if they're still current, or if they have to be modified, or if they're desired to be modified, but you still maintain your core of your comp plan, and it's just updated to comply with current conditions and current legislation.
Okay, anything else? Okay, Bobby, I gotta be honest with you, I think you've got the same thing going through your mind that I've got going through. It seems like we just did this. We spent a lot of time on the comp plan, so how often do we update this?
So what, oh, go ahead.
Well, what I think people are thinking of was not a comp plan update. We did a total redo of our development regulations
Okay,
and our zoning. We redid the zoning, we reformatted them, we put them in that matrix and all of that stuff, which was a pretty deep dive.
Right.
But that wasn't a comprehensive plan update.
okay.
It's been, and Mike, you were maybe here for the last one, but I don't think anybody else was here for the last update where we had a consultant come in
Right,
and they changed things to have it set up with goals and, well, there were what?
And that's the comp plan I'm using as your
okay,
basis.
okay,
Right.
The 2019 version.
So it's been a little while.
okay,
Yeah,
So we have
3 years.
That's why
okay.
Yeah.
We have been pretty deeply delved into the code for a long
You're right,
time.
okay, you're right.
And in answer to your question, it used to be every 8 years. The city of Millwood was 3 years behind, 2 or 3 years behind on that comp plan update.
Okay.
So it would have been 2016, 2017. It ended up being 2019. And it was on an 8-year schedule. Now, after this one, it's gonna be every 10 years.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
Hopefully, we did it well enough last time that we're tweaking rather than redoing a lot of it. I know there's new regulations, but
And I'll present the checklist to you guys. I'd have to look on the plan. I think it's September. Let's see, 23rd. Yes, September 25th, periodic update checklist presentation. So I will be going over everything that's in the checklist.
Okay, perfect, cool. Okay, well, if nobody else has any questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the public participation plan review and forward it on to city council.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. That brings us to item number 5, public remarks, any public comments? Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak, or Lisa is bringing the sign-in sheet? Thank you. Doug Sadler, will you come up to the podium, state your name and your address?
Doug Sadler, 8612 East Bridgeport. My concern with the public comment is what weight scale is going to be given to it. The Millwood City Council does not have a reputation of adding much weight to public comment. Public has responsibility to comment, so that's on us first. But then when it's given, it is pretty much ignored. And so can this project be given a weight scale that when it's all done or along the way, it's audited, and how much of public comment is actually being shown up in the results of it? Without that requirement of 50%, 60%, 70%, 20%, some requirement that public comment needs to be reflected in the outcome. Otherwise, you've continuing to destroy the relationship that you're going to have with the public. So I'm just concerned about that. There needs to be some intentional audit and look at of how much public comment is actually considered and implemented. Respectfully, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Sadler, I'd like to address that real quick. I've sat through many meetings here, and when I came to the meeting after reviewing our packets, had intended to vote one way. And there's been several times where after public comment, swayed my vote the other way. So I'm going to tell you that
Okay, appreciate that.
that is not always the case that what you were saying.
Okay,
That public comment, I take it very personally because I am a Millwood City resident, as is
Right.
everybody else here.
Right.
And I believe the residents are the voice of the community. So,
so
just
okay,
FYI.
I value that and I appreciate that, and I just hope that we see that reflected in the progression and outcome of this.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for caring.
You bet, and thank you for coming. Commissioner Beasley.
We are going to be restricted by state law, and that's going to be a problem that a lot of us are not going to be happy with. But am I right in saying that the public participation is going to be recorded? So even when the outcome does not reflect the public participation, it will be in the plan in black and white that this is what citizens said?
Yes, so if you look at how the Department of Commerce words the benefits of community participation, it is the foundation for the plans. As you stated, Commissioner BC, unfortunately, we can't really have a weighted ranking because if 99% of the people say we don't want any affordable housing, we can't meet that. We're forced by the state to comply with the regulations. And so a weighted ranking is difficult, but I can assure all comments received, at least that are done through me and into the plan, are weighted as far as consideration for how it's included and how it's presented to Planning Commission.
Well, I think too that there is a difference between you're for or against this particular proposal and what we will be going through here, which is a planning process, which is a kind of a different kind of animal.
Yeah, it'll be decisions more like, does the city of Millwood want to allow 3 units per lot so that you can have 2 ADUs in addition to the middle housing, or 4 units per lot, or do you want to cap it at 2 units per lot? It's those kinds of decisions where we have just a little bit of flexibility that the citizen comments can help guide.
Well, you know, and I would think also, we got to fit 49 units in, it looks like. And there are a lot of different ways you can do that. And so some of it, I would think, is how we want the city to look at the end of it. So that is kind of how we're gonna fit them in, what kinds of things. Do we want a bunch of little cottages? Do we want apartments? You know, we're restricted by income stuff, but there are some things that can be looked at. The public can push us to be a little more innovative.
Yes,
With-
design regulations, for example.
with how we do this and design this. So the public input is going to be crucial to getting something that we as a city are happy to live with for the next 20 years. So it will, I believe this planning commission is going to take very seriously any kind of public input we can get.
Strongly encourage you to stay involved, and your attendance is appreciated, I'll be honest with you. Not going into other projects that have been, there's been many times this chambers has been full with a public audience here, and everybody had a chance to speak, by the way, too. So please, your participation is wanted, very much so.
Can I?
Absolutely.
I mean, I appreciate how you intentionally put in there.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I have to do the minutes. It's really difficult when that
Okay.
happens.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. That you put in there very specifically some of the groups that you wanted to reach out to and to have to participate in it. You know, Millwood Community Association, Millwood Neighborhood Association, and other things. So you've invited, and so that was a very positive move. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. That's, Mr. Sadler's the only one who signed in. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, great, thank you. Moving on to the city planner report.
So this was the report that was presented for the city council meeting on July 9th. And I would be happy to answer any questions on it for the planning commission.
I do have a question on this. And, you know, if you wanna reach over here and slap me, you can, I'll let you, okay? Bobby kinda alluded to this at the beginning. One thing that has been very near and dear to the planning commission heart for years is signs. And I see that, I don't remember ever reviewing the sign for North 40.
From where?
North 40.
We
We
did,
did.
we
We
did.
did? Okay.
We actually did have one,
August of 2023
Oh,
was your
that's
special
right.
sign permit.
and it
Were you
went,
Because it was my first one.
Okay, no problem, okay, maybe I wasn't.
it went really smooth, so
Right,
I can
okay.
understand.
Okay, no problem, okay, so then, I don't remember reviewing Starbucks.
You will be,
Starbucks?
August.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, anything that required a special sign permit, which is specifically, they're asking for the electronic reader boards for menus. Basically almost identical to what they already have, but they want new ones at the new facility, which triggers the special sign permit. Anything that was on the wall and everything that doesn't require a special sign permit, I've already approved, because it was in compliance with the code. But anything electronic or over the, 6 foot, I'd have to 42 inch, I can't remember what it was. Anything over the height requirement or electronic would trigger the special sign permit.
okay. That's the only thing I had. Anybody else have any things as far as her, planning report?
I guess I've got some questions, but it says Millwood's responsibility will be 0.05% of the Spokane County population.
Okay,
roughly.
hold it, are you in the planning report or are you?
Oh, I'm going back to July 9th.
Oh, the minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes, yeah, I was
We've already
using,
approved those.
I know, but I have a question about,
We've got commissioner comments coming up.
okay, sorry, all right,
Okay,
sorry.
I'm sorry, okay. Okay, right now we're on the planning report. Any other questions about this one? So just one page deal. I'm giving Jay a chance to get to it.
Thank you for putting up with me, yes. Okay, I got it now. At the end, okay, thank you. No, I didn't have anything highlighted on that, so
Okay, perfect,
I'm
okay.
good on that one.
So then, motion to approve?
I don't think a
No, don't
motion's
have to
needed.
approve. Okay, just a discussion, okay, perfect, okay. Next up is the city planner report on the Millwood Days booth.
Yes, so, as I briefly alluded in the public participation plan, we will be having a Millwood Days booth, a double booth, I believe. Yes, so we have plenty of room.
Thank you, Millwood Community
Yes, thank you.
Association. The other half.
And it'll be kind of the kickoff for the public in general that weren't able to make it to the council meeting for the periodic update process. And this is where I wanted to get the kids and families involved. So I created an Imagine Millwood activity where the kids get to describe what they say that's great about Millwood, what they would like to see improved essentially, and then draw how they envision Millwood 20 years from now. That'll be an activity we have at the booth. And then I am kind of hoping we'll have also information on the QR code for the webpage and other things to kick us off so that when the survey does begin, people can just go back to that link and say, here we go, it's all on the webpage. And what I'm kind of hoping is that the planning commission will be able to join me in the booth. So, or at least some of the planning commission, so we need to advertise it as a special meeting.
In the past, we've been voluntold to attend that. Just, obviously, we want to volunteer. I think we need to have some representation there, but
I will be racing that day. I will not be in town.
no excuse.
We'll race home real
Let's
fast.
go. Race home really fast. I like it. Oh,
or
so
I would
that's
be
the
there.
24th, okay, so,
Yeah. That's a Saturday, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Times?
The booth has to be manned from 9 to 3.
Okay.
I'll be there, I think it's 7 or 7:30 is when setup begins, and
Okay.
I think some of the guys on staff will be helping me do the setup. So as long as I can get some people to at least rotate through with me from 9 to 3, that would
Okay.
be much appreciated.
I'll plan on that.
Okay?
Unfortunately,
I
I
think I
got
should-
2 other booths that I've already committed to for that time.
Okay. I'll see if I can't get there at least in the afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Cool.
I'll call in the night.
Well, I'm coming home from camping that day, so,
Coming home on a Saturday?
I'm in Missoula.
So-
Possibly Bill, I'll
Okay.
and see if he can.
Since it sounds like we'll have close to a majority possibly able to attend, is it okay if we advertise that as a special meeting then, in order to engage with the public at the Millwood Days booth for the periodic update?
Do we just need 3 though? How many?
What's the downside? If
No downside. That's why it's safer to advertise.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, because Bill might be around.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Call him and ask.
I seem to have misplaced page 2 of the agenda.
A lot of pages here, Mike.
Here, do you want the back? I've got notes on it, but you can
No problem, thank
see
you,
it.
thank you. Okay, next up is commissioner comments. Jay?
Well, I'm gonna go back to our July 9th meeting minutes. Probably should have brought it up then, but Millwood's responsibility will be 0.05% of the Spokane County population, roughly 49 diversified dwelling units. Amanda, as the population changes, how does that affect what we're doing with this
So we have a point in time. We're utilizing, I believe it's the 2020, or 2021, I have to go back and look. We're using a point in time population in order to plan for this periodic update. The
Okay.
next one in 10 years will obviously be different, but we were allocated the 0.05%, which equated to about the 49 people or units. And that is actually lower, I believe, than it's been in the past, but it's based on the growth that has occurred since the last update. So
When does that start? When does that count start? Is it now? Is it last month? Is it next month? Will Magnolia Village housing count towards that number?
yes, it will count towards it.
Wonderful.
Just thinking.
Yeah.
Some plus.
I
Is that
actually, because
17?
the land capacity
Yeah.
analysis that I just
15,
completed still had that as vacant land, and then a house that's scheduled to be demolished as part of that project. So when you look at the what's required for the land capacity, it actually shows, when you take the market factor out, slightly less than what Magnolia is supplying for the UR1 zone. So essentially Magnolia takes a big chunk of the land capacity that we need to make up. So, and that's assuming the project goes forward and everything. See, it's not a set in stone because there's no COs issued yet. So it still counts towards it as long as it goes in.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great point.
then we have till 2044. Says 20
We
years.
plan for 20 years,
Okay.
but we have to update every 10.
Right,
So
okay.
the next update will be 2034 to 2036.
Cool, okay. Anything else, Commissioner Hall? Okay. Commissioner Beasley?
Next point.
Any comments?
Lots of questions, I imagine
Okay.
we'll get to them as we hit the different things, but yeah, there are lots of questions about the path towards home ownership and the dividing up of lots, and so you've got a principal house and you put 2 ADUs on it, and then you sell off one of the ADUs along with the land it's on. Do you now have to put another ADU on the remaining lot? And,
I know where you're going. No, you don't. They actually address that.
okay,
So,
Something.
in the, I think it's called the unit lot segregations, I think, or something like that. And it actually addresses it in there that you do not have to provide, for the middle housing on those type of segregations. So you have your parent parcel, and say it's a single-family home, that single-family home is elected to add 2 detached ADUs, you now have met your 2-unit requirement. However, they're not middle housing types, so that's the only question there still, is if the ADUs are going to meet we're only required as a tier 3 city to, have an additional 2 units on there. So I'm still waiting to see how that shakes out, definitely on, that ADU versus middle housing, cause they both apply towards meeting the goals for housing, but unfortunately ADUs are not included in the middle housing. So they're not a middle housing type like a duplex or a triplex. And so I have to work through that to see the options there. But as far as your question, no, once you've met the lot segregation requirement, you don't have to further supply it.
For that lot is taken care of. So unless the legislature comes through. and does
Unless they
something
change again.
to it.
And there is still flux in the short plating end of things and stuff. And so that'll be evolving over the next year or two, I'm assuming, because it didn't make it through the legislature this time around.
I'm sure lots of those sorts of questions are gonna come up as we go
Yeah,
through.
when it already, in the 6 months that I've been presenting this, 2 or 3 things have already kind of updated and changed as we're going through, so that's a whole nother thing of staying up to date on all the modifications to the legislation and everything.
I'd also like to state, for me personally, I'm just someone that's interested in how things work. So explaining to us these things is helpful to me, rather than you just coming up with, you know, here are the problems, here's the solution, vote on it, yes or no. It helps me to understand better what the struggle is, where we come from, even some of the whys behind.
Anytime, I have no problem answering those. And if you ever have something that comes up too outside of me and that you have a question on, as long as we're meeting the Open Public Meetings Act, feel free to email me and I can respond to a question for you.
Commissioner Wu? No comment?
Comments?
No comments? I don't have anything else. So with that, I will, the next meeting is set, special meeting, August 24th at Millwood Days, and then our next regular scheduled meeting is Wednesday, August 28th at 6 p.m. right here in council chambers. She's got down here anticipated agenda items, which had I looked forward, I would have seen that you had the Starbucks sign there. And also a draft of the Millwood Community Survey. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn our meeting?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
On a funny note, North 40 put up that new sign and then they just planted a bunch of trees right in front of it. Anybody else notice this?
Yeah, so you can't even see it,
I
huh?
didn't even see the sign.
Well, and honestly, that's
Like,
why
what are you doing?
I always laugh at the freestandings, really, because the monuments make so much more sense if you're planting trees for street trees. Because they're actually visible.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Flag lot. So, flag lot.
I didn't want to say that in the meeting, but I was having to Google
I
the other
even know
day.
after that one, and I don't know a lot of them.
So, what are we gonna do about this? What are we gonna do about Spartans?
What's that now?